a huge amount to support the work for this session, and also the Reverend Dr. Joe Cortis. Joe, do you want to say hi very briefly?
Hello. This is where I'm coordinator of Caritas Leeds, and this is really where this initiative originated from, and I'm delighted to be continue to support this group of young people.
Brilliant. So thank you to Caritas Leeds, and most importantly, the young people who have prepared the material for our session today, Lucy, Roisin, and Aman. Do you want to say hello collectively as loud as you can?
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to let you know now what's going to happen in this session. So in a moment, we're going to watch a video that has been made by the 12, as they're called, who are the youth leadership team from the Diocese of Leeds, who've just said hello to you. Then for those of you who are on the Zoom call, you're going to go into breakout groups for about 5 or 6 minutes, where you'll have an opportunity to discuss what you've heard. And then after that 5 or 6 minutes, the Zoomers will come back into the main group, where you'll have an opportunity to ask questions of the 12, the group, and also of Jessica and Father Joe. If you are joining us on YouTube, welcome. You will just stay on the link for the whole time, and when the Zoomers go off into their discussion group, you'll be able to submit comments via the comments box. You'll be able to submit some questions. Those will be fed through to me, and there'll probably only be time for 1 or 2 of those questions, but we'll make sure that you get a chance to have some questions asked and some discussion while the Zoomers are having their breakout groups. So that's what will happen. So I'm now going to hand over, and we will watch the video that's been prepared for us.
The 12 are a youth leadership team based in the Diocese of Leeds that are committed to making change, to voicing and acting on the concerns and wishes of other young people in the diocese.
So the 12 are a group of young people that collaborate with the bishop to make the diocese a better place from a young person's point of view.
So the 12 is a group of young people who work together to find out information on young Christians and to get them involved more deeply in their faith.
We work to ensure that other young members of the church can actively have a say in the actions within the diocese so that they can shape it themselves for future generations.
The 12 is an organisation providing and facilitating the voices of the youth within the Leeds Diocese, working in collaboration with the Bishop. The 12, the name being inspired by the 12 disciples, is an established group of young people that is ever growing.
The 12 is a group of young people in the Diocese of Leeds who are working together with the Bishop and other leaders within the church to bring the voice of young people in everything that the church does, because as Pope Francis said, the young people are the church of today and not just of the future.
This idea of young people not just being the future, but actually being the now of God really struck the 12. Here's what Pope Francis said during his homily at World Youth Day in Panama in 2019.
Ustedes, queridos jóvenes, no son el futuro. Nos gusta decir, ustedes son el futuro. No, son el presente. No son el futuro de Dios. Ustedes, jóvenes, son el ahora de Dios. Él los convoca, los llama en sus comunidades, los manda, los llama en sus ciudades para ir en búsqueda de sus abuelos, de sus mayores, a ponerse de pie junto a ellos, tomar la palabra y poner en acto el sueño con el que el Señor los soñó. No mañana, ahora. E incluso a ustedes, queridos jóvenes, les puede pasar lo mismo cada vez que piensan que su misión, su vocación, que hasta su vida es una promesa, pero solo para el futuro y nada tiene que ver con el presente. Como si ser joven fuera sinónimo de sala de espera, de quien aguarda el turno de su hora. Y en el mientras tanto de esa hora, les inventamos o se inventan un futuro higiénicamente bien empaquetado y sin consecuencias, bien armado y garantizado y con todo bien asegurado. No queremos ofrecerles a ustedes un futuro de laboratorio. Es la ficción de la alegría, no la alegría del hoy, del concreto, del amor. Y así, con esta ficción de la alegría, los tranquilizamos, los adormecemos, para que no hagan ruido, para que no molesten mucho, para que no se pregunten ni nos pregunten, para que no se cuestionen ni nos cuestionen. Y en ese mientras tanto, sus sueños pierden vuelo, se vuelven rastreros, comienzan a dormirse. Son ensoñamientos pequeños y tristes, tan solo porque consideramos o consideran que todavía no es su ahora, que son demasiado jóvenes para involucrarse en soñar y trabajar el mañana. Y así lo seguimos procrastinando. ¿Y saben una cosa? Que a muchos jóvenes esto les gusta. Por favor, ayudémosles a que no les guste, a que se rebelen, a que quieran vivir el ahora de Dios.
I believe it's especially important for young people to have a voice because we are the adults of the future. I also think it's important that the voices of young people are heard because we often bring a fresh perspective to modern issues.
Personally, I joined the 12 because leadership is a skill that we are taught but rarely take action in with full effect. Joining the 12 has allowed me to take on responsibility, but with other young people, as we work together to help voice others' opinions. I believe strongly in having the voice of the youth heard, as young people are just as valued people in society as anyone else. Us as youth all have just as valid opinions as anyone else.
The 12 have regular meetings where we can develop our leadership skills and also how to present ideas to different people in the diocese.
Over the last few years, we have been fortunate enough to receive incredible training and guidance on presenting ideas, teamworking skills and leadership through workshops and group activities provided to us by the Leeds Diocese Youth Team.
We've developed many listening skills, many leadership skills and communication skills through our meetings.
We've had numerous meetings where we were encouraged to share and develop ideas, which has helped me grow more confident in speaking and communication. We have also had numerous stories told to us, for example, one on the persistent widow, which has helped me understand the importance of these skills.
As the 12, we work closely together as one, rather than individuals, as we all strive together to successfully voice the words of young people. In our meetings, we have looked at passages within the Bible and reflected on how we could apply the words that we read in the way that we lead.
We have also conducted surveys and questionnaires in order to find out more information regarding what young people think and what their hopes are for the diocese in the future. An example of this was when we were using this research to identify what our main aims should be and what we should focus on most.
In gathering the collective opinion of young people in our diocese, we circulated a questionnaire based on questions Bishop Marcus asked us to find the answer to. What lights your fire? What are young people in our diocese passionate about?
These surveys gave us information on how young people are involved in the diocese, and it also tells us how they would like changes to happen.
Currently, we are focusing on social action and communication in order to try and help the community to engage with young people in the diocese.
We have been supported by many people, such as the Chair of the Justice and Peace Commission, the Chair of the SPP Leeds, Catholic Engagement Officer for the Diocese, Director of Communications, and the Coordinator of Caritas Leeds, collectively learning from each other in the meetings that we have shared.
Meeting the bishop was a great experience for me because it went well and he took us seriously. He listened to all of our ideas and commented on them with positive feedback.
Meeting with Bishop Marcus was an inspiring experience because he was so genuinely interested in what we had to say. It filled me with the courage and the knowledge that we would probably also be taken seriously by others we would meet.
To meet the bishop was really exciting and inspiring because it's hard to talk to someone so important and high up, and it was especially nice to hear our views taken seriously.
It was an incredible experience to meet the bishop and to hear his opinions on what we are doing and how he could help us achieve our aims of social action and communication, and how we could help him in his aims of engaging with young people.
We have developed a strong link with Bishop Marcus since having been commissioned in 2019. We have met with him numerous times and contributed to the discussion around the impact on coronavirus on education, which was discussed by the Bishop with the Secretary of State for Education. So before the pandemic, the 12 was meeting regularly, almost on a monthly basis. And although that has continued on throughout the pandemic online, it's been perhaps a bit more difficult to, interact and really sort of think about our ideas.
During the pandemic, I found it challenging to stay fully engaged with faith and stuff because there hasn't been the same facilities such as masses constantly, and it's fine keeping your faith on fire during this time when you feel a bit low. So I think during the 12, I've been finding moments where I finding it hard to keep that motivation going, even though there's still so much going on. So I think with the 12, I think it has allowed me to just stay confident with myself and carry on, and just it's okay to have those moments where you're just oh, I can't do this, and it's okay to have those moments where you can't understand anything. But I think I wish there was not necessarily more support, but just understanding with everyone, and just understanding that it's okay to not be okay.
The best thing about the 12 for me is that we are able to come together as a group and discuss about our diocese, and also being able to meet with important people, because the skills we are taught through the 12 to meet with these people will not only boost our confidence, but will also help us in later life.
All of my highlights have been the meetings, and especially the meeting with the bishop, because not many young people can explain their ideas about whatever they wanted, whatever issues are going on, to someone so high in a spiritual position. I have learned to speak out about my ideas, and I have learned to be the voice of other young people who aren't as fortunate as me to be involved in this group.
I have learned so much since being part of the 12, especially on how to present ideas and talk to people in a more confident and clear manner. Additionally, I have managed to deepen my own knowledge about the Christian faith and how I, working in a team, can help others.
One of the biggest highlights was meeting the bishop and meeting the other vital members of the diocese. It was very interesting to hear their goals to continue making the church a powerful place to go to. It was better still for us to be able to submit our own ideas to these figures. And then another highlight was the abilities and the skills we can take away from this. For example, speaking more confidently and being able to formulate our ideas more clearly. I have learned that people take you seriously, and so there is no point in being afraid in meeting them. I have also understood more about our church as a whole, witnessing their efforts firsthand.
For me, one of the key highlights of being in the 12 was when we met with the leaders of social action groups within the diocese, who invited us to take a leading role in advancing social action. This has made me optimistic for the future of the church, as it has taught me that in many areas the church is aligned with young people in wanting to tackle the same issues such as climate change, hunger and homelessness.
Meeting all the different people within the group has been a big thing for me, as it is a great experience to work with other people who have just as passionate opinions like me. I also appreciate the free food and the hot chocolate. But there has been something that the 12 has changed my mind about vastly, and that is how I view the divide between the young people in different generations. Before joining the 12, I felt that there was a huge divide and all of our ideas regarding the church and the world were opposing. But the reality is much different. I have learned that we have more things in common than I thought, which was something I viewed so differently before. This collaboration with the ages is something I hope that is further strengthened in the future.
My hopes for the future, especially once we come out of lockdown, would be to interact face-to-face with even more young people all across our diocese. I would also love to attend and maybe even organise youth events together as the 12 in order to support the youth work that already happens in our diocese, as well as voicing new ideas about the direction we, as young people, would like to take these in the future.
My hopes for the future is that adults will understand that children can have a voice in religious things and that they will be able to understand how to listen to young people's ideas.
My hopes for the future of the Church is that it will continue to keep up the incredible work it does in guiding and supporting people in life on how to live and who to be. I'm really looking forward to seeing more young people get involved with the Church and to have a platform to speak out and share their ideas.
And my future hopes for our diocese is that the 12 or a group that has a similar purpose to the 12 will continue long after we're gone, so that young people can always point out and change the few features that may restrict them from accessing our church.
My hopes for the church are that more young people will be inspired by groups like the 12 to come forward, so then their voice can be heard to then possibly make a change in their diocese or parish or school, so then they can feel more confident about being Catholic.
In the reflections which Pope Francis wrote during lockdown and published in the book Let Us Dream, he says, "You have to make for the margins to find a new future." Here the Holy Father is setting an important challenge for the Church to prioritize listening to those whose voices are often not heard. We recognize that young people can feel at the margins if they're not given access to opportunities to grow in faith and leadership or contribute to decision-making in the Church. Over the last 2 years, Caritas Leeds, the Diocesan Youth Service, and Leeds Citizens have provided Christian leadership formation for an inaugural group of young Catholics to assist in planning and developing youth leadership in the Diocese of Leeds. Aged from 13 to 18 years old, all these young people have shown a commitment to service in their parish, school, or a Catholic organisation. This youth leadership group have been given the name the 12, to be inspired by the small group of apostles who, empowered by the Holy Spirit, transformed the history of the world when they took Christ's gospel to people all over the earth. It's important, though, that these young people take the lead in this initiative, for they, as Pope Francis says in Christus Vivit, are themselves agents of youth ministry. Certainly, they need to be helped and guided, but at the same time left free to develop new opportunities with creativity and a certain audacity. I was proud to formally commission the group in Leeds Cathedral and have had meetings with them to discuss their ideas on communication, social action, and the experiences of young people during the pandemic. This collaboration has allowed them to gain a deeper understanding of the work of the diocese, while helping them inform our decision-making and our plans for the future. As Pope Francis has said, we cannot just say that young people are the future of our world. They are its present. Even now, they are helping to enrich us. They are at a time of life when they begin to assume a number of responsibilities, sharing alongside adults in the growth of the family of society and the Church. My hope is, therefore, that the 12 will act as a catalyst for a flourishing of youth leadership in the many aspects of the work of this diocese, and that the enthusiasm and creativity of our young people will enrich the ministry and mission of all our clergy, religious, and our lay faithful.
So thank you so much to the 12 and to Jessica and to Ryan and also to Bishop Marcus for preparing for us that very powerful and fascinating video. What's going to happen now is that we're going to go into groups. So people on YouTube, you stay where you are. We're going to have a conversation with the panelists. But if you are on Zoom, you're going to be put into a group now and you're going to do some discussion. And I would like you to do as you did if you were in the previous session, which is to introduce yourself and to say maybe one thing that's going around your head, one thing that has struck you as you were watching that video. So a chance to share something and a chance to introduce yourself. You've got 6 minutes in your groups and then you will be brought back. YouTubers, stay where you are. We're going to have a bit of a discussion. So we'll just have a brief pause for a few seconds while people are able to go into their groups. Okay, so hopefully that means that people have been able to go off into their groups. And I'm hoping that we're going to have some questions coming through from the people on YouTube. Just while we're waiting to see what those questions might be, can I just ask Jessica perhaps just to say a little bit about what it's been like to be doing this community organising work during a pandemic, presumably lots of it done remotely. Could you tell us a little bit about that experience of community organising and what maybe you've learned from that yourself?
Sure, thank you. Tom might want to interject as well.
Oh, is Tom here now?
Yes, Tom's here.
Brilliant, okay.
Do you want to take that question, Tom?
You can start and then I'll chip in.
It's been fantastic. It's really been challenging, and as I'm sure a lot of people feel, online, video conferencing, not ideal. Really miss the face-to-face, but thank God for it because it's much better than nothing. And I think some of the 12 have mentioned this as well. It has been more of a struggle to meet together. Meetings when they're online haven't been as sort of energetic and so on. But it's what do they say? The mother of all invention is when you need something, and we've needed to reach out regardless of the restrictions, and so we have found some ways, even though it has had its challenges.
Yeah.
Tom, do you want to add to that? By the way, welcome, Tom. We did welcome you at the beginning, but I'm not sure whether you were here for us welcoming you. Tom is the lead organiser for Citizens in Leeds and has done, I know, extraordinary work over now a long period of time in Leeds. So, Tom, fill us in.
It's been great and really inspiring that with all the challenges that young people have faced sort of personally and with education being so disrupted and everything online, it's just been really inspiring to see that the group has survived and continued through this time. I think we've had to be quite flexible and open to changing some of our plans just because we can't meet together, but there's been real dedication, and the fact that we were able to do that video all online in our separate locations, I think just shows the dedication and commitment that the young people have shown.
Yeah, brilliant.
I'd like to commend
Yes.
to commend Ryan for putting the video together. I thought it was very good quality. I concur with the views. It's been challenging, and I personally very much look forward to actually seeing our young people face to face. But hopefully that is coming quite soon. But the time of the pandemic has not been wasted. We have progressed with their two priorities, which, as they said themselves, communication and social action. And they're slowly developing then an action plan to realize the goals that they actually set themselves for these two priorities.
Brilliant. So I've got a quick question here that's come in, and then I actually want to ask Lucy and Roisin and Aman something quickly. But we've got a question from Chris Knowles. He's asking, are forums like this important for all dioceses, do you think? Especially given Pope Francis's emphasis on wanting more synodality in the church. In other words, a church that meets and talks together. That's really what synodality means. That's able to form a common mind and to share common experiences. So anybody, I mean, Lucy, Roisin, or Aman, feel very free to speak to that, but it may also be that Jessica wants to take that one.
I'll start.
Brilliant, go for it.
And say that, yes, I think from my experience of being I'd say that, yes, I think from my experience of being in the 12, I think it'd be a valuable experience for any group of young people to have from any diocese, and the opportunity to have your voice heard and voicing the opinions of others.
I think we've lost Lisa's sound a little bit. Yeah, carry on.
Is a really valuable experience. And I think on the terms of getting like...
Okay, Lisa.
The answer to that is definitely yes. Synodality is extremely important, and there should be in every diocese. However, resources...
The common views of people.
Oh, we've got Lucy and Father Joe speaking in synodal form. Lucy, sorry, we were losing your connection a little bit then. I think we were getting it a bit slowly. So do you want to conclude what you were saying, Lucy, if the line's improved?
I was just saying that I think finding the common views of everyone is really important, since young people are just another group of people who are, have important views on lots of different topics too.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Lucy. Father Joe, did you want a chance to finish your own sentence?
Well, the point I wanted to raise was that if dioceses look at this issue as being a priority for them, it needs to invest in it as well. These groups like this do need quite a lot of support and formation and things like that. And resources need to be made available for that to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we've got a question that's along those lines as it happens from Mariel Woodard, who asks, how are the 12 selected, who accompanies them, and who gave them training and support? So again, I don't know, Jessica or Tom, you might want to speak to that.
Okay, thank you. Great question. So this is our inaugural group that you're seeing before you, and we have many others as well who couldn't be here tonight. And we asked our so Ryan and I work for the youth service, and we're working in collaboration, as you know, with Caritas Leeds and Leeds Citizens. And with the contacts that we already had, so our lay chaplains in our high schools, our parish youth workers, and other contacts, we asked them, we shared with them the briefing paper about the 12, and we shared it with them and asked them to recommend to us some young people who had really shown, you know, above and beyond a commitment and service in their schools or parishes. And so it was, this inaugural group were appointed because of their current track record. The formation that they've been having, so the four of us, Joe, Tom, Ryan and myself, we've been leading most of the formation. We're there to help facilitate, to provide, to help them to come together with fellowship and faith formation as well. So we have, Joe has led a session on informing us about the wider work of the diocese. It's often easy to know what's happening in your own parish, but this is a diocesan youth leadership team, not just for a parish. So Joe shared about that. And then Tom has led us on some spiritual formation, taught us what the Bible teaches, shown us what the Bible teaches about leadership. And we've also then done some communication skills, leadership skills, things like that.
Great. Can I just ask people to make sure they're on mute? If you're not a panelist, can you make sure that you're on mute unless you're asked to speak for some reason? That's great, just because it improves the overall sound for everybody. Thank you, that's really helpful. Now, there's a couple of questions here. I assume the breakout people will be coming back in a second if they're not here already. But there's three questions that are kind of linked in the chat. And actually, they were things going through my mind as well. And I don't know whether Lucy or Roisin or Aman want to try and pick this up. What did you ask the bishop for? So what did you say to the bishop? What were your key suggestions when you met the bishop? And did they have any impact?
Roisin, do you remember?
Yes, so the two main things that we brought to the bishop were communication and social action. So basically we just wanted to let him know that we were there to go out into the diocese and basically be a person that other young people through the diocese can talk to and things like that. And the bishop was so lovely about it. He took everything that we said on board, and he let us know that he'd facilitate anything, basically what we wanted to do. And yeah, everything that we brought to him was taken really seriously, which was the best part about it, really, just knowing that he's there for us.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Okay, so I'm going to make two, I've got a question I'm going to ask from here, but I'm aware that there are people who've come back from breakout rooms. I will do my best to spot raised hands. And anybody on the tech side, if I'm missing anybody, then do let me know. So if you've got a question and you've come out from the Zoom breakout rooms, feel free to raise your hand. We haven't got very much time. We've only got sort of 6 or 7 minutes for those. But there are also still some questions coming through on the chat function. So I'm going to try and feed in a couple of those as well. One of the young people on the video mentioned climate, hunger and homelessness as 3 priorities. And somebody in the question group has said the climate emergency is the biggest social challenge facing us. How might a group of young people like the 12 be leaders to help reshape the diocese approach to lead on an issue like climate change? So I don't know, again, whether Lucy or Roisin or Arm or Oman have got any ideas. How might you be involved in shaping the response to the climate environmental crisis in Leeds? Lucy's reaching for her button.
I can give you an example of within my parish. Before I was kind of the teenage age, there was another young person older than me who had taken the initiative to start a parish environmental group. And she'd recruited people from the parish, and they were discussing ideas about whether to make the bulletins email, to kind of cut down on the use of paper, all sorts of ideas like that. And those kinds of initiatives are something that the 12 really support in our endeavours towards social action, in supporting young people in their action towards forming groups, protests.
We had an interesting discussion, didn't we, Lucy, with
about stuff like climate change,
the protests. Yeah, like you say. And should you get a late mark for being at a protest?
Oh, right. Yes. That's always an interesting question. Okay, a very practical thing. Lots of people are asking whether or not the 12 have an Instagram account that can be followed. So I see that some information on that is being shared in the chat. So if you were wondering how you could keep on top of the action of the 12 and follow their community organising endeavours, then have a look at the chat function and you'll be able to see that you can follow them there. Somebody's asked a practical question, which I think probably Joe or Tom or Jessica need to take on. How did you deal with the safeguarding issues around community organising with groups of young people?
Jessica, you might be
to take
this one.
Yes.
But a lot of so there was additional thought and care put into organising meetings and making sure that we had that covered.
Yeah. I mean, it's also worth saying that my understanding is that's why we've had a separate Zoom link that you've used for this, because this call is being hosted for safeguarding reasons by Leeds Diocese themselves. So, I mean, I think, a significant amount of care has been put in, not only to the organising, but in fact, even to speaking on this link now. Okay, somebody's asked, what do you find most frustrating as a young person about trying to do organising in the context of the Catholic Church?
Armin and Oman, do you want to have a go at this one?
It's probably like before the 12, there weren't very many groups where young people could interact with members, the people that make decisions in the church. So it wasn't until we were nominated into the 12 that we realized we could actually have some impact on what was going on. And before that, there weren't any major groups.
Yeah, so it's the lack of that organised context to be able to network and share those ideas together. I think that's a very common experience. I've got one final question for you all, and then we're going to do thanks and stop. So this is like a 1 minute final closing round for Lucy, Aman and Roisin. Could you tell me either a way in which you have been developed personally by involvement in the 12, or something you've changed your mind on as a result? I'm going to go to Roisin first.
So the 12 has definitely helped me like develop my faith, because it's made me see that I'm not on my own. I'm not a lone wolf in the Catholic community in a church of older people, that there are other young people around me that I can speak to.
Yeah, and that fits very much also with Pope Francis' message in Let Us Dream about breaking a culture of isolation and individualism by finding relationship. That's fantastic. And Aman.
For me, it's just been talking to people, because like before the 12, I didn't enjoy putting my ideas forward. I would just stay back and stuff. But then in the 12, you're encouraged to, give your ideas out to people. So yeah, talking in front of people like this, the 12's helped me become more confident in speaking in general.
That's brilliant. So confidence building, and again, breaking that sense of isolation, stepping forward rather than sitting back. Anything else you want to add?
So what changed for me was that I didn't really know that adults would listen to like kids like us on religious things, and the 12 has like to help us to be the voice for other young Catholics in our diocese and in other dioceses as well.
Yep, absolutely. One of the things community organising teaches you is that people will always listen if you claim your voice. Lucy, last but not least.
I think what changed for me was the mindset that we need to take action now. Like what Pope Francis said, in meeting with all of these people, adults who were used to taking action, it changed me in the way that they were all giving ideas and thinking of like things that we could do now, active things, and they inspired me to take that
action together. Yeah. Okay, I think, Lucy, we've just lost the end of that, but I think we got the drift.
These
of where
actions as a young leader, as part of the plan. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you for bearing with our tech, by the way. So the good news is that, proving the point that you made, that speaking up is powerful and people will listen, in the chat function, Lucy, Roisin, Aman, you should know that people from Chicago think that you should consider sharing your model and having chapters around the world. So there you go. That's what happens when you turn up, when you show up. So on behalf of everybody, can I thank the 12 and also thank Father Joe? I think Bishop Marcus has just joined as well. So thank you, Bishop Marcus. We really appreciated your message on the video, and to Jessica and to Tom and to Ryan. So a collective round of applause, thumbs up, or any other way you wish to show your Zoom or YouTube appreciation. Thank you very much. So what will happen now is there'll be a brief break, and then you will go back onto the previous link, YouTube link, a Zoom link, not YouTube link, stay where you are, YouTubers, and you will find that the next session will then begin there. But in the meantime, thank you so much to Leeds Diocese for hosting this, and good luck, the 12.
So the 12, if you want to hang around for a second.
That was great.